All right, Reclamation. And if more people come in, I'll be able just to welcome them in and they can join us. But I think we'll just jump in. But before we do, and this is 1,000% for my own benefit, can we all just take some breaths together? So if you're willing to join me in this, just exhaling completely, let it go. And then take a deep breath into your nose and a mouth exhale. You can let it go with a sigh, with a sound. And we're going to do that twice more. Inhaling fully. Exhaling with that sigh and a sound, and just at least one more time. Inhale. Letting go. That's totally for my own nervous system. I am just really excited to share with you all tonight. And I have a lot to share. And the way I've spoken about this masterclass is that it'll be 60 minutes, and I already am looking through my notes and what I want to share, and it may go over. So I just want to give you permission right away that if you need to hop off at any time, please, not a problem. You will have access to the replay inside of the Facebook group, and you'll have that for as long as Facebook exists. So I'm so excited that you are here. This work is my jam. Relationship space, working with women, this is my jam. And the fact that you are here, it is possible, all right, I'm not going to assume that it is, but it's possible that it means on some level, the way things are going for you relationship-wise, it's potentially not very inspiring. Or perhaps it is okay. Relationship is an okay space. But there is a part of you that knows that relationship gets to be epic, right? Or maybe your relationships are epic and they do light you up. And you still want to learn so that you can expand into even more love, even more intimacy, even more pleasure. You want to taste what could be possible, right? Whatever your story, the fact that you are here, it tells me on some level that you are demanding more than mediocre, right? Mediocre, whatever it might be for you, sex, communication, connection. A part of you is demanding more than mediocrity. Okay, you are here because you are wanting to lean in and be part of the 1%, right? The 1% who actually wants to take responsibility for their life and their relationships. And that is what I'm here for. So tiny bit of housekeeping. We are here, I did say 60 minutes. We may run over. You may leave as needed. And I'm going to teach you a lot. I'm going to give you a lot of theory. Okay, so if you want to take notes, you can. If you just want to drink it in, you can. You have the replay. And I also, once I've taught, I have an offer for you, for those who are live with me. And I'm really excited about this because I've never done it before. Okay, and once I have invited you into this offering, I'm going to open up the space at the end for questions. So I'm not going to be pausing throughout the masterclass to take questions. So if anything comes up for you, I want you to jot it down. I want you to write it down, and then at the end, you can share it in the chat, or you can come off mute and we'll have a conversation. So questions are great. Hot seat coaching is really great. It's a great utilization of a masterclass. And I'd also love to invite you to engage with me. And you can engage with me through the chat. Okay, so if something I'm saying is really landing, put it in the chat. Tell me that it's landing. I would love for you to share yourself with me and connect with me, because this actually keeps you more engaged with what I'm sharing. And also lets me know that it's hitting home and it's landing. Okay. And I also have a couple of giveaways, and the way I decide where they are going is really by looking through the engagement in the chat and inside of the Reclamation Facebook group. So the invitation is to really be with me. Let it be a co-collaboration, this process. And the giveaway prizes, they are access to some recorded play shops and a free spot on an upcoming mini course that I'm going to be running. So just to those that are live with me, are you guys with me? Just give me like thumbs up. Yeah, cool. I love that. So maybe you don't know, maybe you do. I am Charlie. I'm Charlie Hanna, and I am a psychotherapist. And I specialize in helping women and couples heal their relationship. First, foremost to themselves, right? The relationship they have with themselves so that they can feel more secure, more connected, and more at ease in who they are and how they feel inside of relationship space. So it's over a decade of academic study and then self-development deep diving. I've now created this framework that supports women from feeling triggered, disconnected, and reactive to feeling way more empowered, solid, and secure. And it's tonight that I'm going to show you, I'm going to let you in on like what it actually takes for you to do the same. So super exciting. You are a relational creature by design. Relationship work, it ripples out and impacts all areas of your life. Everything is a relationship. We tend to think of romantic partner, but you are in relationship with everyone and everything, with money, with your business, with life, and with yourself. And so I'm not holding anything back tonight. This is the work that changed the trajectory of my life. All right. It took me from feeling insecure and reactive and jealous and at times like a wildly possessed woman to now just feeling grounded and thriving inside of partnership. All right. And there really was no conscious man that came and made it all better for me, right? A lot of people are waiting for the partner that's going to come in and make it all better. I made it all better. I made it better for me. I am the real MVP and you are the real MVP. I want to make that so crystal clear. And the really sad fact about relationship space is that for the majority, they are not thriving. Okay? They are okay at best. And it's by doing this work that you get to be part of the 1% that is willing to learn how to lead yourself, your relationships, and your life with more certainty, more ease, and more love. So it's my desire, my intention to put you all in the 1%. I want to take you with me. So who wants to come? Come with me. Yes, Queen. So with the chat, love the engagement. Please keep it coming. I'm in and out of it, but I endeavor to keep coming back in because I love to feel you. It feels great. Appreciate that. So the fact that you are here because it's exactly where you need to be, right? Just by the fact that you are here. But because you are also a relational creature by design, of course you are in the right place. And this masterclass is going to support you whether you are currently in relationship or not. Doesn't matter whether you're single or not. And if your experience currently is or typically is an experience that is triggering, disconnecting, dysfunctional, dissatisfying, or just mediocre in whatever way, you're going to get a lot from tonight. I can guarantee it. And I am going to assume, I shouldn't assume, but I will because you are here, that you are ready to choose to do something different, to get a different result, to have an expanded experience, and to take responsibility, self-responsibility, to circuit break any old patterns that are keeping you stuck. And it's really like the question is, if not now, then when? If not now, when? And the thing that makes a relationship healthy and thriving is that it involves two people, if you're doing monogamy, two people who are willing to make that happen. They're not just waiting for it to work out. They're not hoping that something will change, that their partner will change. They're not being passive about it. They actually take action on it every single day. There is a commitment to choosing love every day. And this doesn't mean that stuff doesn't still come up, okay? As long as you're in relationship, stuff will come up. Relationship tension is normal. However, it's the way that it's dealt with that is different. In a healthy, authentic, epic relationship, conflict actually becomes a way to create clarity and even deeper connection. So can you say the same? Think about it for a moment, and you can put it in the chat. When you have conflict in relationship, does it bring you closer to your partner? Or does it create a divide? Does it create a wedge? What does conflict create for you? Taking power into our own hands. Yes. How empowering is that when we're not waiting for the external? If they're willing to come closer, then yes. Yes. And that's the thing. It takes two, right? It takes two people who have willingness. And relationship can be excruciating when there's one that's willing and one that is not. But often those relationships don't last so long because they're actually out of alignment, unless there is something that you need to learn. You'll continue to repeat your patterns until you learn the lesson. But if you're in a relationship where one is really willing for the self-development and the growth and one is not, it often doesn't last. It's too out of alignment. It's too painful. Yes, having to let go of unwilling potentials. Yep. Initial divides while changing behaviors afterwards. We feel close. That's the thing. It's like in the moment, the divide can still create that tension, but it's after we've come back together and we've created effective repair, we're deeper, we're closer. There's more love, there's more understanding. When we can love the other's humanness, we get to come even closer together. And so with relationship, I have been in relationship hell, absolute hell. I've had my version of abuse, of breakdown, of intimacy, feeling like the biggest chore of my life. Relationship where I haven't felt seen, haven't felt heard, felt super reactive, and like my emotions are just really out of control. I've been stuck in drama loops around and around and no idea how to actually circuit break what's going on. I've been there, I've done that for years and years. And now I sit inside of a relationship that is absolutely solid at its foundation. It's a Christmas miracle. And I know how to determine what is my stuff. And I know how to own it. And I know how to see what's not my stuff, which means I don't have to take the other personally. And this means I no longer get stuck in drama loops, right? This is huge. This is huge. And I also know how to activate my own turn on, which is so huge, beyond huge for me, because intimacy has been the biggest block to me my whole life. It's been one of the biggest pain points in all of my relationships. It's created cheating and breakdowns. And I now know how to inspire desire and arousal inside of myself. So intimacy and sex no longer feel like this box that I have to tick just to please, to appease my partner. What a relief. And to land in the place that I'm in now, I've gone to the depths of my soul, and I've been such a hard yes to the growth. And as a result, I'm now in a relationship where it feels like I get to be the living embodiment of not only what I teach, but what I didn't even know was possible, especially not for me, okay? And this is not to say that my partner and I were not still messy humans. Like triggers come up, but the big difference is we know how to move through them, right? And like really, the thing that makes the difference, it is our commitment to our own inner work, as well as the relationship dynamic. And that is what allows us to have this relationship that we are calling an embodied union. And so, like, really, this is actually all it is. This is the big reveal for tonight, right? This is the big secret. It's devotion. It's devotion to ourselves, not each other. Like, devotional practices are amazing. And it's devotion to our own expansion, our own evolution, our own inner work that allows for epic partnership. That's it. We're done. But really, that's what it takes. And so tonight, we're going to hyper focus on 3 areas that I believe so deeply create an authentic, epic, loving relationship where feeling solid and safe is the foundation. So happy for me. Thank you. I honestly appreciate that. And I'm happy for me too. And I want to shorten the gap for women who want to have their version of this, not my experience, but their version of just authentic relationship. And so tonight you get to learn what it takes so you can set yourself up and your relationship up so powerfully that you get to navigate whatever comes up. And because I only have an hour with you tonight, this is the tip of the iceberg. This is the how-to, it's the map. I'm giving you a blueprint. And if you can let the answer be the answer, it will transform your entire life. If you can let the answer be the answer, it'll transform your life. If you are willing, if you are committed. And what I know to be true, because I've seen it a billion times in the work that I do, if you choose to not work through your relational baggage, you will continue to play it out. It does not go away. Your emotional baggage will come with you free of charge from this relationship to the next relationship. And you will continue to perpetuate your own suffering until you decide to say no more. My stake is in the ground, no more. And this is not me trying to trash talk you or trash talk your relationships. It's just a fact. This is how relationships work. They are designed to bring up our stuff, our unconscious core material. However, the map that I have for you gets to be the shining light. It gets to be the blueprint that solves any relationship baggage you might have, so you can start to create a different experience inside of yourself and inside a relationship now, which is really fucking exciting. When we thrive in relationship, we thrive in life, okay? That's why this work lights me up so much. And before we go into the solution and what I believe to be the work, and I do air quotes the work because what's the work? There's so much, do the work, I gotta do the work. I believe this is the work, okay? But before we go into it, I just want to hear from you all. I want to hear, and you can put a hand up as if what I say resonates, or you can share if you have a different version. But I'm going to name some really typical relationship drama patterns. So if this is familiar to you, just hand up or in the chat. So let's start with looping arguments that go nowhere. Or feeling like you're wild and that your emotions have like got you by the balls. It's like you feel out of control. There's almost like hysteria. Have you ever felt really stuck in your masculine, like stuck in your head, disconnected from the body? Have you ever felt like sex and intimacy is just not it, but you show up anyway? Gives me goosebumps to say that because so many women do it and it's needs to stop. And I was one of them, just to make that really clear. So I'm sure you can relate to one of those, if not all of them. And if you have a different flavor of relationship suffering, share it in the chat. If there's a pattern that repeats for you that you're like, oh, this is the thing, make it stop. We all have our own version and our own unique way that we choose to suffer in relationship. Looping in something, emotions are dismissed. Yes, and sex and intimacy is a ploy for connection. Absolutely. I used to do this all the time in the beginning of relationship to secure the connection, to maintain connection. And then once I've got the connection, it's like, there's no motive there anymore. So it's a fuel source for arousal, and there's a better one, which I'll teach you tonight. So I've been in relationships where I would cry almost every single day. On the phone to my mom, crying in the bathroom, crying in my car. I've had sex so many times when I don't want to. Beyond, I can't count, okay? I've been in a relationship where it feels like we're just friends and we're not actually lovers. I've been in a relationship and I felt confused. Do I stay? Do I go? I'm half in, I'm half out. I feel stuck. I feel uncertain. I've dragged on relationships like that for years and years. And inside all of that, I really, really tried to make these relationships work. But it did not matter how many books I read, how many date nights we set up, how many courses I did. I always ended up looping back around to the same suffering because my efforts were never getting to the root cause of what was going on. So who knows this? You can share it in the chat. You can put a hand up, but who's done some level of self-development? You might have read the books, done the courses, and you're single and you feel really great. And then you get into a relationship and you are triggered and you are reactive and everything you know to do is just out the window. Sex is fab. Amazing. As I say, yeah, I feel you. So what I was speaking into, like when we feel like we've done all this work and we're in a relationship and we're still pretty like reactive and triggered, the reason this happens is because our efforts have been intellectual masturbation. Essentially, you have learned some theories and cognitively you get it. It's like, I get it. Okay, dad wasn't around. That's why I have daddy issues. That's why I have a fear of abandonment. But okay, cool. I still have a fear of abandonment. It still is triggering. And I wish that awareness was enough. I wish awareness was enough. Sadly, it's not. We cannot think our way out of our problems. And the other piece to name here is that authentic, healthy intimacy is rarely modeled. Think about your own childhood for a moment. What were you witness to? Did you see healthy repair? Did you see intimate moments? Was intimacy kept behind closed doors? Was it there at all? Okay. Extreme dysfunction modeled to me in childhood. Yep. Rarely, very rarely has healthy intimacy, healthy connection been modeled. And all we are is we are in adult bodies, but we have not actually emotionally matured because we've never been taught and we're trying to figure it out. And it's fucking not easy. Yet, and like that's why we revert to these childlike states when we're in arguments, because we've actually reverted to our childlike states. Intimacy was modeled, however, lack of emotional support. Yes, and that can create another variation of like insecure patterns in relationship. So what I propose to you all, to everyone that comes into my vortex, is when you're wanting to create epic relationships, it will serve you so well to hyper focus on attachment healing, creating conscious connection, and cultivating authentic intimacy. Okay, this to me is the trifecta. It's what I believe to be the work. It is the answer to creating an embodied union within yourself and with other. Okay, so focusing on earning a secure attachment, learning how to be in communication consciously with awareness, and how to tap into your own authentic intimacy and pleasure and how to then co-create that with a partner. This is the foundation of an embodied union. And when I say embodied union, this is a term I've coined for my business, but it's like union means wholeness. And embody is to authentically be in the energy of wholeness. Okay, embodied union. And it starts with you. And so tonight we're going to start with attachment. I love attachment theory, and I would love for you to put in the chat if you know what your attachment style is. Perfectly fine if not. But if you know, if you've done some attachment work, you might know. I'm going to go through them anyway. Anxious and insecure, anxious, preoccupied, now mostly secure. Yes, Victoria. Feeling more avoidant in current relationship. What I love is that there's an awareness around attachment theory here, which is so beautiful. It's a buzzword, right? I feel like it's a trending thing, and for good reason. So I'm still going to speak a little bit into it, just very briefly, into like attachment theory. And according to attachment theory, and they've all been mentioned, which is beautiful, there are 3 categories of attachment, and they are secure, anxious, and avoidant. And so even though you've shared, you can just put a little hand up if you resonate as I describe. So someone who is anxious, they crave more intimacy, and they're often preoccupied with their relationship. They tend to worry about their partner's ability. Can they love me back? Can they love me as much? Are they going anywhere? Okay, this is a more anxious attachment. This was me. And then avoidant. So this is someone who might equate intimacy with a loss of independence. Okay, it can feel quite smothering and constantly trying to minimize closeness. It's too much. Anyone resonates with avoidant? And then a secure attachment is someone who is comfortable with intimacy. They're usually quite warm and loving. It feels quite safe. Anyone know that? This is like the holy grail. This is where we're going. And there is a 4th, and it is a disorganized attachment. Lots of people like to self-diagnose. Same with narcissists. Like, my ex is a narcissist. Everyone's a narcissist. If you actually look into narcissism, it's quite rare. And the same with disorganized attachment. And this is someone who's usually been very, very traumatized very early on. And the way it presents as an adult is there is an intense desire for connection and closeness, and at the same time, an intense fear. So that person is often very stuck and frozen, not moving. It's very painful, okay? And the thing, 15-year marriage, disorganized. Yeah, healing it. It's big work. It's big, big, beautiful work. And the thing that makes these attachment styles differ, apart from the obvious, is the view of intimacy and togetherness, and the way that they deal with conflict, attitudes towards sex, and their ability to communicate wishes and needs and desires, and also their expectations of their partner and of the relationship. And it's to know that with these different attachment styles, it is not fixed. As you all know from just what you've shared, we can be all of them, and different partners trigger different versions. So attachment really is a spectrum, and we move along it through different relationships and across the lifespan. And the hope is that we can really just kind of settle into this more secure attachment as we develop relational skills. And I'm a living, breathing example, and the women I work with are the same. And so even with attachment being more of a sliding scale that we move along, we do each tend to have a flavor that we lean into more, one that we predominantly fall into. And we often end up in relationship with someone who seems to just effortlessly push our attachment wound buttons. Has anyone had that experience? This is not a mistake. I'll tell you why. So as a human, You are nature. You are a part of nature. And just like nature, you are always seeking to heal and to find balance and to come into healing. So just like nature does, we seek to heal by being the most attracted to the person who can trigger our stuff, because to heal it, we have to feel it. This is like the cosmic joke. But the only way out is through. And like another way I can speak about this is a trauma bond. Okay. We often bond to attachment figures who bring up our unconscious core material, our hurts and our relationship trauma. So in order for us to become a match for a secure relationship, it starts by creating a sense of security inside of ourselves. It is an inside job, and it isn't something we can talk ourselves into. Okay. This is why awareness is half the battle, because it's the embodiment of safety and security that really does create this. Learning how to be more consciously avoidant, pull away at times when it's healthier. Beautiful. So it's my belief that creating a sense of safety and security comes down to three major things, and that is self-awareness, self-regulation, and self-development. And I'm going to speak into them all. So self-awareness. Self-awareness is actually just becoming a detective to your own bullshit. Truly. And it's starting to call yourself out. It's starting to self-inquire so you can see your own patterns that are creating dysfunction. And it's like, how do we start looking for these patterns? How do we start becoming this detective? Well, the important question to ask when it comes to relationship is, what is the energy of the blueprint of your relationships? What is your blueprint? Where did you learn about relationship? Who taught you? Who taught you about them? And how are you now modeling that in your current relationship? And the clue is to look at your parents and look at the environment that you grew up in. And this can be difficult to look at sometimes, right? Because when we go into this, we see we are often like our parents. And we're usually the most like the one that we have the most contraction around, the one that we judge the most. It can be painful to acknowledge that. And do you ever wonder, I know that I did, but do you ever wonder why you attract the same types of people, same circumstance, and same problems into your life? Anyone know that? Anyone have that experience of like on repeat? What is going on? I'll tell you, you are the common theme in it. It is the relationship internally that needs to be understood for the relationship externally to be fully healed and revealed. So what that means, the chaos and the disorder and the dysfunction is not with your partner. It is never with your partner. It might appear that way, but it is not. The chaos, disorder, and dysfunction is the nature of the relationship you have with yourself, which is being revealed through your partner, who is simply a catalyst to show you that. And the dysfunction is not your fault. It is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to clean it up. So where did this dysfunction come from? 99 to 100% of the time, it is inherited from caregivers and environment. And the reason I say caregivers and care providers and not parents, because it can be teachers, it can be siblings, it can be friends, it can be school, it can be role models. There's any number of factors, okay? So your view of relationship, it is downloaded, it is inherited. That's how you define relationships as you become older in the world. And as I said at the beginning, like biologically we become older, but rarely do we emotionally mature at the same time. It's your dysfunction if you stay with someone dysfunctional. Yes, it's like we always have choice as adults. As adults in relationship, we have choice. Like I said, if we have lessons to learn, we might stay in dysfunctional relationships because there's something there. It might be karmic, there's a lesson to learn. But once we've learned the lesson, it's no longer in alignment for us to be in dysfunction, and we get to leave. So that's the self-awareness piece. That's a part of the puzzle. Another piece of the puzzle is self-regulation. Speak so much about this. I think probably because it was a skill that I did not master until I was 30. I was hysterical, really. And so once you start recognizing your patterns and dysfunction, you then get to choose to do something about it. And self-regulation is a skill you want to master. And so what is self-regulation? It's about learning how to self-soothe the parts of you that are triggered, the parts that are reactive, the parts that are hurting. It's learning how to turn towards yourself, your hurt parts, with curiosity and tenderness. It's learning how to create space between who you are and the parts of you that are crying out. It's learning how to create space between who you are and the automatic thoughts that are looping and creating your suffering. The reason many of us suffer is because we get so identified in our suffering. We take it to be the whole of us, who we are. It is always a part of you. And there are so many ways to self-regulate, but please, please do not think you are self-regulating if you are ruminating, okay? When you are processing, thinking about it over and over, this is not regulation. It is not. This is self-inflicted suffering. It's not it. Self-regulation, it's more about, it's feeling what's alive in the body and then meeting it where it's at. So you might be mad, and then you might decide to utilize movement and shaking or dance to kind of move the brunt of the frustration through. And then once like the heat of it has shifted, you then choose to come to like what's actually underneath the mad with interested curiosity, that self-inquiry. Self-regulation is about choosing to circuit break your automatic reactivity in the heat of the moment. And I'll tell you now, this is when you will least feel like doing it. This is when it is the hardest. And if you can self-regulate in the moment that it is the most painful to do so, this is how you will create the most profound change. And it will be excruciating at first, especially when it's inside of relationship and toward partner. It's painful. Gets easier, it gets softer, it's so rewarding. And it's to know, like that's self-regulating as needed in the moment, but self-regulation is also a daily job, okay? It is daily embodiment. It is found in the simplicity of the present moment. I'll tell you now, every single person wants a one and done healing process, right? Put me in the ice bath, holotropic breath work, ayahuasca, like let's just blow out our nervous system and I'll be healed. It's like, it's not it. You can have a cathartic experience, yes, but self-regulation is the not so sexy daily maintenance of your nervous system. And you will each have your own direct route to creating relaxation, and you get to figure that out for yourself. For me, it is walking, dancing, and yoga. If you already know what yours is, put it in the chat. What do you do? What is your daily commitment? And if you don't have one, are you willing? Is there a willingness? Self-regulation changed my life this year. Yeah, exercise and meditation, beautiful. Beautiful. So self-development was the next. So we've done self-awareness, very important, self-regulation, very important, and now self-development, okay? It's all one and the same. But self-development, as much as it is all of the above, it's about going a level deeper. It's actually about working with the core material and the beliefs that tell you that you are not enough, or that relationship is not safe, or some version of that, okay? And healing and self-development can be painful because often a wound has been opened for restoration. And we have to revisit these wounds from childhood in order to transcend, transform, transfigure, transmute our tragedies and our trauma. That was good. Alliteration. But it's the beautiful thing is that it's our greatest tragedies that become our greatest triumphs, okay? And like our mess is our medicine, however you want to say it. But like self-development is beautiful, and it's something that you can do with a therapist like me. And the best self-development you will ever do will be inside of a relationship with someone who is willing to utilize connection for growth. Okay. So we cannot heal in isolation. We can do a little bit of healing, but the most profound healing comes through relationship, because we actually need something to push up against in relationship or in life in order to understand ourselves better. So we truly become whole through committed partnership. And this is the one where we go into the relationship with the understanding that this is for healing. So who thinks, you can just put a hand up, who thinks relationship is about love? It's not. It's not. It's about healing. It's about healing. And so a toxic relationship, they're the ones where we don't take responsibility for our own wounding, our own unresolved hurts, and they actually spill out. They spill out into the space and onto the other. And we can heal through difficult relationships because they do show us our stuff. But what I see, what's most likely to happen is they dissolve and they disintegrate through the power struggle stage. Learning about how to come back to love. Yes, that's the thing. A mantra that I use all the time if I'm in my own trigger, it's like, who do I choose to be? And do I choose to come back to love? How can I come back to love? How quickly can I come back to love? And it's not always right away, but how quickly can I come back to love? And my whole mission in relationship is to come back quicker each time. So that is really, that's what I have to share tonight on on attachment. And the way we earn our secure attachment is really by having the awareness around, okay, well, how are these insecure patterns playing out? How can I then learn to self-regulate them? And how can I do my self-development to turn towards these parts that are hurt with curiosity and care? It's not about self-improvement. It's really about self-acknowledgement and self-acceptance. Which is a relief, really, like especially in these self-development worlds that I'm in, that you might be in. It's like, striving. Yes, we get to do the work. Yes, we get to be the best version of ourselves, but it's like we're actually already whole. It's actually about surrendering back into the wholeness that is here instead of trying to fix. So let's go now into conscious connection, creating conscious connection. This is the second pillar. We'll call them pillars. And I believe that it's an absolute art. It's an art form. It's an art form, creating conscious connection. And a conscious relationship, it means that there is an understanding that this is never about the other. This is not about you. This is not about the external. It is always about the relationship I have with me. And an illusion that I hear all the time, every day, on repeat, sometimes I buy into it myself, is that so-and-so made me feel this way. No. Nope. No one can make you feel anything. Nobody can make you feel a certain way. And this can be controversial. And we want to have compassion for the people that have been really victimized badly. Not the victim identity. This is very different to someone who is the victim of actual hideous trauma. But again, the responsibility of that is still on you to clean it up. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to clean it up. But nobody ever made you feel a certain way. It doesn't matter what they said to you. It doesn't matter at all. They did not open up the top of your head and pour in a jar of anger or a jar of sadness. All they can do is expose a tenderness that's already inside of you through the activation of a wound, a trigger, through the use of their language or behavior. And this is a really powerful awareness piece. It's controversial. I'm challenged on it a lot. But I stand by the fact that all of your feelings are inside of you. They are within you. And please do not think that this means that you should condone abusive behavior. Not at all. You still get to withdraw yourself from the relationships that are not the standard of what you say you desire. You get to have your stake in the ground for the kind of relationship you want, okay? However, relationship, it is here to reveal to you the lack of love you received from your primary caregivers. And because we are here to reconcile the unfinished business of our caregivers and our environment, in order to restore our childhood, we attract the partner that feels like the parent we felt an absence from. We call in these relationships to finish our childhood. And this can be deeply healing when we have this kind of awareness and we can see it for what it is. But when we don't, it is an absolute painful disaster. It's extremely painful. I remember I had one experience of like trauma bond, whatever you want to call it. And when my mum met him, she's like, he is your father. And I was so mad at her. I was like, how dare you? I didn't have a relationship with my dad, but I had my story around him being selfish and he's not in my life. And I was just like, absolutely, he is not. And I was infatuated. And this was the most toxic relationship I've ever been on, that I dragged on for 5 years. And now in hindsight, years later, he was totally my dad. Everything about him, just the energy, the behavior. He was my dad and I was obsessed. Okay. So let's talk about the typical I really struggle with this word, trajectory of a relationship. All right. So we can really kind of understand how we can create that conscious version of it. So typically it starts with the enchantment phase or the honeymoon phase. And this lasts 1 week to 3 months on average. On average. Sometimes it can last 2 years. But 1 week, 3 months, honeymoon phase. And this is where we experience this, it's like temporary wholeness, right? Because our childhood wounding is not online. We're not activated yet. And this is intoxicatingly intense. Oh my God, it is. Okay. The one. Oh, feels so good. And then we come through that phase and we move into the power, struggle, conflict phase. And this is where dream partner becomes nightmare partner. This is where our fears and our hurts from childhood, they start to move up to the surface. And this is an opportunity for healing in a conscious relationship. However, when we're not practicing relationship in this way, there can be an aversion to this. There can be a move away from. And it's very likely that if we do move away because don't like this anymore, we then go pivot and we go and recreate much of the same with the next partner. Okay? I said it earlier, we take our emotional baggage free of charge with us. And so the power struggle, it's really the death of the fantasy. And the ego hates it, kicks up resistance. It's mad. Okay, we've moved from like romantic courting to this space that feels like there's more control, more coercion, and attachment struggles. They're really online in this phase. And if we are practicing conscious relating, it's not that this doesn't happen, it still happens, but we get to move through it and we get to heal and we get to settle into real love, which is 1,000 times better than the honeymoon. This is where there is absolutely no agenda. No agenda. There is just acceptance. It's really expansive. It's really peaceful. Who knows this? Who knows this experience? I've only had it once. Just quickly have a look at the chat. Do you have a source for us to see the different stages within a relationship? I'll have a look. If I do, I'll share everything like resource list in the Reclamation Facebook group. I can't think of one now off the top of my head. This is just like my learning from everywhere, but I'm sure I'll have something. Okay. So if you have experience like this, loving, no agenda, accepting, expansive, peaceful place, you know it's epic. You know it's epic. And keep in mind, if you have attachment wounds and you are used to relationship being a space that is chaos, it's unpredictable, it's inconsistent, then it's very possible that when you engage with a secure man or woman that you might be interested in, it will feel boring. When you are used to chaos, security feels boring. This is because a trauma bond is intoxicating. And a secure relationship is solid and safe. It's not very sexy. No, I'll correct myself. It is sexy, but it doesn't sound sexy, right? So if you are wanting to heal insecure attachment wounds, then it'll be worth staying to see if a boring, air quotes, boring connection is potentially just not a trauma bond. So always like give it some time, give it some space. I always suggest moving slowly and having discernment when we get to know people anyway. But it's to know it can feel boring when you're used to the insecure pattern. Okay. All right. So with relationship space as well, just to know, if you don't already, that it is a space where your limiting beliefs are going to take the stage. Okay. And there is a collective limiting belief. Does anyone know what it is? You can type it in. Have some water. What is the collective limiting belief? You know what it is. There's a few versions of it, but there seems to be this one that really underpins all of it. All right, I'll tell you. So it's, I am not enough. I am not good enough, or I am not safe. Relationship is not safe. It's very collective, okay? And this is a childhood wound. It's a childhood wound that lives in your unconscious mind, and it produces thoughts, which produces feelings, which produces behavior. And to circle all the way back around to attachment, some of these behaviors are avoidance. So when there is a deep fear of being seen and a preoccupation with self, healing happens when you start to move towards the thing that makes you want to pull away. And then there's anxious behavior. And this is where there is deep fear of loss of love. And the preoccupation is with the other. And the healing happens when you learn to stay still. When you feel that desperate desire to move towards as quickly as possible, stay still. Okay? And when we feel activated in relationship, we can often resort to protest behaviors. And these are tactics to get our needs met. So these are behaviors that say, prove to me that you love me. Not verbally, that's not spoken, but that's what the behavior suggests. Prove to me that you love me. And this can never be fulfilled. And what's actually happening, you are trying to prove to yourself and to your limiting belief unconsciously that you are not loved. You are projecting outward the belief I'm not loved and looking for the evidence to confirm it. You're projecting it onto the other who can never do enough. They can never do enough. I used to do this all the time. You know, looking for evidence to support that I'm going to be left. I'm not good enough, right? It's exhausting for both. And when relationship is an unconscious space, we're looking for someone to fill the void or the deficiency that we feel. And when they don't, and they won't, this is when we enter into breakdown and conflict, all right? So how do we do this? How do we cultivate conscious connection? It's having the awareness. It's having awareness around our unconscious core material and having the capacity to self-regulate. And then it's also part, like, it's the practice of self-revealing, okay? And what self-revealing is, it's through exposing the parts of yourself that are activated and hurting without projection and blame. Does that make sense? Okay, it's through being vulnerable. Well, first, I'm going to break it down even more. Firstly, you have the awareness around your stuff. This is coming up for me. I'm feeling, let's say it's jealous. I feel so jealous. And like it's someone who's not practicing in this way, they'll project that out there by just being mad or passive aggressive or trying to control. But self-revealing is like, fuck, I'm aware that that part of me, that jealous part is here, okay? And then you expose that. You acknowledge it first for yourself, and then you let your partner in. It's like, hey, babe, this part of me is really activated. So you're being vulnerable because you're sharing this part that you might deem ugly or not appropriate or shameful. But you expose it with ownership. It's mine. This is mine. I'm letting you know that it's here. Can you hold me in this? And you allow yourself to be held in your not good enough pieces. And this is excruciating at first because the tendency is just to feel the trigger and make the other wrong. I'm jealous because of that woman or that man or what you did. When you do that, you've got your partner offside immediately. They're not going to hold you in your stuff and you've missed an opportunity. So how can you have awareness to know what's going on inside of you so you can be vulnerable enough to expose what's there so you can create this opportunity to heal? Because it's when we're held by a compassionate person that these parts get to soften. This is some of the deepest healing work I did not come through a course, did not come from uni, did not come through any of the decade, all the things I've done, it came inside relationship, letting my partner know that I was like furiously jealous and so ashamed that I felt that way. I should know better. Oh, so I'm now exposing a part of me that's in shame as well. And he just loved me. And then it went away. And I'll correct myself. It's not that they go away. We're integrating them. We're bringing us, because we're in parts. Part of me is jealous. Part of me is furious. Part of me is this. It's not who we are. It's a part. And when we do this work, we're bringing ourselves back into wholeness. And we can actually just start to witness emotion and sensation, because that's all it is that moves through us. So we get to self-reveal instead of running away, avoidance, or running toward, anxious. We get to self-reveal instead of using protest behaviors, prove you love me, trying to get our needs met. So let's just take a deep breath in. It's already been an hour. I don't even know how that happened. Are you guys with me? Okay. Mike's, let's have a quick look at the chat. Okay, cool. Oh, hang on, Victoria got kicked out. Let's bring her back in. All right, so we've done, what have we done? We've done attachment, earning secure attachment, number 1. We've done number 2, conscious relationships. The next one, number 3, third pillar, it's authentic intimacy. And this is our last little bit of theory. And if there's time, I might guide you through a practice. And if not, if it's too late, we can move into Q&A. We'll see what there is space and energy for. I'm always pumped, so it's like I can go for hours, but we'll just see what the group calls for. So just put you on mute. Cool. So sexual arousal. Did you know that it is related to your nervous system? And culture, our culture at large, supports a form of arousal that does not tap into what is possible for us, like not even close. And most of us, and I find this horrific, right? Like most of us are introduced to porn, but it's now as early as like 6 and 7 and 8. And like when I see a 7-year-old, I'm like, that's a baby. But that is now the age that like porn it's being accessed, and like that's a whole nother topic. But most of us are introduced to things like porn, and the relationship to arousal, it's based on visual stimulation and dissociation. And there is visual stimulation and then like bare minimum friction and stimulation that allows for a sneeze of pleasure. And then there's disconnection. There is no heart. There is no heart. And it's all happening in the head. And I'll say men specifically, maybe more so, but also women, we are wired for this, like stimulation and intensity. And why? Think about the movies that we've grown up on. Think about how we, like the movies that depict passion, like on the first night, high intensity states, high friction states. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't matter how you want to have sex, but what is the fuel source for your arousal? What allows you to be prepared for that moment? Okay. Because in relationship, when there's insecure attachment patterns playing out, we're often seeking intensity. All right. And the relationship starts with positive drama. This is infatuation, lots of intensity, and we're running on this high stimulation in the body. And when that fades, when the honeymoon fades, we start creating drama through other ways. We might enter into a fight cycle. And this is where there is rupture, disconnection, and then the relief. The relief of coming back together. We repair and then we have sex, and there's this period of relief. And then the breakdown comes again, and we just go into this pattern. And I want you to take a moment and just take a pause. Take a pause, reflect on your own relationship. Maybe the one you're in, maybe the ones from the past. Think about your experience of the honeymoon phase, that enchantment phase, and what that's like. And how long does it last? How long does it last for you? You're welcome to share in the chat. And like for me, it was, 3 months max. 3 months max, and I'll be getting bored. All right. Victoria, your Zoom crashed. Yes, but I'm glad that you are back. Welcome back. So typically, like, a relationship will start and there's lots of lust, there's lots of infatuation, there's intensity, there might be drama in the relationship, and then a year in, it all falls apart. And they experience fighting. And like I said, then there's like the recovery and like fixation on sex. And when we're in this pattern, we're orienting from a place of scarcity. We might be afraid that this will be the last time we'll ever be sexually involved, and there's like a desperation to come back together. And then eventually there's breakdown. The connection ends, and then we go into seduction mode. We go looking for a new partner, and we repeat the cycle. And there's no meaning in this. There is only temporary high and pain. And why do we do this? Like, as humans, why do we do this? It's because so many of us face blocks to arousal. But I want you to know that arousal is intrinsic to you. It's intrinsic to you. And if you can buy into that, I couldn't buy into that. Not for me. No fucking way. Pleasure was so elusive, not my story, right? And if I can sit here and tell you that arousal is intrinsic to me, you can believe that it's intrinsic to you. So just to share a little bit more, like my story around sex and intimacy, I lost my virginity. I'm not actually sure where. One of two places, both very drunk. And that set the foundation for me, just lending my body out, drinking, having sex, just was not about my pleasure. Like we said earlier, it was more about like creating connection, wanting men's attention, wanting men to like me. And I did that for a really long time, from 17 onwards. And what that did was create lots of trauma in my body, created lots of shutdown, lots of numbness. I hated penetration. And then the older I got and the more work I did on myself, the more I couldn't keep doing it, because just my body's no became so loud. But just essentially my entire sexual system shut down. My hormones, like I got my hormones tested. I had no testosterone, I had nothing. My body was screaming no in every possible way for me to just stop, right? And then even when I did stop and I started doing all this healing work and started having beautiful relationships, I still felt really numb. And that's when I said at the beginning, pleasure was a pain point in my relationships, because it's like, okay, I'm honoring my body and I love my partner, and it's like, but I feel nothing. I'm not aroused, I'm not turned on, and like it just created problem after problem. So it took me learning a new paradigm for intimacy, learning that something else was possible, to finally land back in my pleasure. And now I get to shorten the curve for other women. And it is such a privilege to do that, to teach them that there is another way. And so when I started to learn about myself and recognizing that I only became deeply aroused when my heart was connected. And if it wasn't connected, if there was a little bit of conflict, didn't work. I couldn't open. And when two bodies are close and two hearts are connected, there is turn on. And it gets to feel pleasurable and safe. And there is no need for a scarcity mindset. And this is available to everyone. Okay, when there is understanding that deep arousal is accessed through safety and security. So we are wanting to repattern the nervous system for safety. So how do you become aroused? Think about it. You don't have to share it. I just want you to think about it. How do you become aroused? How does your heart become aroused? And just to know, there is an erotic intelligence that is innate to all of us, and there is ecstasy within all of our own erotic systems, and there's an ecstatic pleasure and orgasmic universe inside of us. And eros, which is sexual life force, is part of the creation of life, and we all have this erotic system. So a question just to reflect on, just a moment. Are you at choice in the way that you experience pleasure and ecstasy and sex and arousal? Or does it dictate you? You don't really understand how it works. The great news here is that you can always develop your erotic intelligence further. I'll say it again, there is an erotic universe inside of you and it is ecstatic. So I want you to have a think now, like what is like the typical fuel source for arousal, okay? Let's think about it. We're going to call this the old way. It's the old way, and it might be your current way, but it's the old way because I'm going to teach you a new way. So the old typical fuel source for arousal is fantasy. It is lust, it is infatuation, and it is addiction. And this is what culture teaches us. Look at songs, look at movies, look at the drama of relationship. We see chemistry explosions and we chase that out of mind experience. I want this person so much that I can't even control myself. There's lots of heat. When that flame dies, there's nothing left. And a relationship that is built on this, it has a lifespan, okay? It is limited in time, it burns out, you end up exhausted and depleted once the intensity is worn off. Has anyone had that experience? Like that intense, it's passionate, it's infatuating, it's just like, it's big energy. How long did that last? And this is where there is danger. There's actual danger of entering into that cycle I spoke about before of drama, knowing as fighting and fucking. So fighting, disconnection, and then coming back together. And then on repeat, and we're running on the energy of intensity until we burn out, and life suffers in all areas, okay? When relationship suffers, everything falls apart because we're generating our arousal from intense energy. We think we need more friction. We get turned on by fixating on this person. And then we burn out. And this is often what like a twin flame trauma bond feels like. Intense feelings and drama. And on the other side, there is arousal that is fueled by safety and security. And it has trust at the center. And like, honestly, doesn't sound very sexy. It does to me. But it doesn't really when you think about the high intensity, lusty, safety and security and trust. Doesn't sell. We are so exposed to intensity where we can feel the subtle. But when we are so exposed to intensity, I mean, it's like we can't feel the subtle. We can't tune into it because we're so looking for the loud. But it's when we start tuning into the subtle, so much happens there. And we can only feel the subtle when we feel safe, when there are no demands on you. And when we have an experience built from this, we feel more and more subtly. We're connecting even to like more subtle energies. And it's through like subtle sensation that we become more and more ecstatic. Like even as I talk about it, like there's movement in my body, like the feminine loves to move and it's like delicate energy, but it's so blissful. And we can't reach for these spaces, this ecstasy, if we keep reaching for lust. Ecstasy comes from a stable base. Stable base. So I'd love for you to share in the chat, if you're open to sharing, what is your fuel source for arousal? Is it novelty, mystery, anticipation, like new connection, hope? Is it lust, that passion, fire? Or is it two hearts, safe, secure, arousal, on tap? No pressure to share, just curious. And yeah, for my whole life, until I was 30, 33 now, I was chasing novelty, mystery, and anticipation. And as you probably know, when a partner becomes familiar, which of course they always do, there is no novelty. There is no mystery. There's nothing new in the familiar. So that's when we see, for a lot of women, sexual desire wanes in long-term relationship. Safety is sexy. Yes. Safety is sexy. Yes, it's very tantric. It's very tantric. These practices are super tantric. It's Tantra is big medicine for this. So just, okay, where are we at? I've covered the theory portion. So I am happy to take you through a practice. It'll probably be 10 minutes. I just want to get a yes. You can just put it in the chat, just if you're willing to go through a little practice. Otherwise, we'll move into Q&A, and I also have my offer. Sam is a yes. He's a yes, 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 yes. Okay, cool. Awesome. So for this practice, all you need to do is have a comfortable meditative seat. You are welcome to lie down as long as you have energy in the system and you're not going to fall asleep. And for anyone watching the replay, if you've worked with me before, you've likely done this practice, but we're going to bring it in with like a pleasure twist. I use this practice all the time for myself and with clients as a way of starting to tap into sensation in the body. But now I want to bring us into the subtle, pleasurable sensations in the body. So coming into a comfortable seat and just making any movements that you might need to get comfy and relax. And if you are happy to, eyes can shut down. And eyes closed, it just makes it easier to go in. But if you feel more comfortable with eyes open, it's perfectly fine. Sometimes it's easier to focus with eyes open. And I'd love to invite you to deepen your breath. So start extending it out. Just making it a little deeper, a little longer, without any strain. Just being more conscious to make the breath a little deeper and a little longer than it was before. No strain, no effort. Just a little bit more consciousness in your breath. Now I want to invite you to start noticing sensations in the body. And you might start with the gross sensations, so the feeling of clothes on your body or your body on the chair. And just orient your body, noticing any aches or pains. You might feel into your fingers, space in between the fingers. And now I want to invite us to start turning toward the more subtle sensations. See if you can go deeper into your body and just start to notice any subtle sensations. It often feels like tingling or little movements or heat. You might want to focus on the inside of your thighs, the backs of your thighs, feeling into your belly. Maybe noticing your breasts, or just your skin. You might take your attention just to your hips, your sexual center. Doesn't actually matter where it is, just noticing the very subtle sensations happening in your body. They are always happening all the time. There's an entire universe of experience moving inside of our body constantly. There are cells splitting and dividing. Our body is in a constant state of eros. Just noticing what you notice. You don't need to feel aroused. You don't need to feel anything. You might even feel numbness. But just see if you can feel more sensation as you start noticing sensation in the body. I'd like you to see if you could notice a little bit of ecstasy inside of sensation. A little bit of pleasure inside of those tingles, those little pulses, that little contraction and expansion, or those little waves of heat. Wherever they are in your body, just see if you can orient yourself to perceive them as pleasurable. And this is really important. Don't reach for it. You're not reaching for that experience. You're just surrendering back and allowing it to be a little bit more pleasurable. Allowing it to be a little bit more ecstatic, opening. And if that feels too challenging for you, just focus on sensation. Developing our awareness of sensation is what I call somatic intelligence, and it's part of this erotic intelligence. Being able to feel the subtleties of our body just really deeply. Just another minute or so, I'm going to be quiet and just feel through your body. Allow your attention to go wherever it wants to go. You might feel your breasts or your womb or your sex or the inside of your thighs, just somewhere that feels nice. You don't need to touch yourself. If there's some movement, a little bit, that's okay. The feminine essence can't help but move. But just feel what you feel and allow yourself to experience it as a little bit more pleasurable, a little bit more ecstatic, I'll be quiet for a minute while you explore that for yourself. And then gently letting that go. Letting any formality of practice go. And if you're sitting, you might just want to move a little bit just to prepare yourself to open your eyes. And when you do, see if you can stay connected to sensation for the rest of our time together. Just feeling the sensations in the body as we continue just to move through. When you are ready, eyes can open. And you are welcome to share in the chat your experience. There's no right or wrong. Felt nothing, felt a lot. It's just practice. And it's allowing ourselves to experience more deeply what's inside of us. There's a big part of this work. Okay? There is so much subtle pleasure and micro movements. There is so much that's available when we let ourselves tune in. And sometimes we resist. There can be resistance to allowing ourselves to go deeper into that, deeper into feeling. Sometimes there can be a fear. If I let myself feel as much as I'm capable of feeling, I might not be able to come back. And I can feel in myself sometimes my own resistance. And I do believe that part of the practice is just continuing to open to that resistance. There can be something terrifying and exhilarating at the same time, but it's available. And I believe if we allow ourselves to be deeply, deeply open to sensation, just as they're arising inside of us, we could let it be ecstasy and like let it be orgasmic. We could be in these states all the time. But this is also how we want to tend to the suffering, okay? But relationship to, like, how can we be in relationship to the sensations that we experience in life? And if your body was feeling numb or shut down, like, that's okay. Some people tap in and it's like, oh, it's a lot. And other people will tap in and it's like, it's numb, it's shut down. But it's this kind of practice over time that will open things up. It is a gentle and persistent attending to ourselves as the body opens, and there's no rush. You cannot rush the body. But over time, as you attend to like numbness or freeze, it thaws out of the body. That has been my experience. So awareness over time and feeling the layers of experience that are blocking the pleasure, right? Layers of grief and anger and hurt that actually block our access to this current. So these practices are one part tapping into pleasure and another part actually working with our trauma. So as we resolve and heal trauma, we get to unfold more ecstasy into our being. Just checking the chat. Tired but numb and some pain, calm and relaxed. Felt very flowy, like the wind, calm, warm breeze. Beautiful, just a variation of experience. So, beautiful women, that is your theory for tonight. 8:30, hour and a half, so a little bit over. And this is the what. This is the what, and like, of course, through my model of the world, what I believe is needed, what needs your focus, and where your efforts could be put to have a better experience of relationship to self and other. So the next part of this is like the how, like the practical how. So theory and awareness, it's half the battle, and the rest lies in embodiment. It is in the practical, it's in the experiential, it's in the regulation and the creation of this inner safety in the body. So you can actually see what's possible as you train yourself to experience feeling safe. It's in the tangible tools and the practices like self-revealing and being guided towards those parts that need your care in a way that feels really safe. It's in the slowing down and getting acquainted to the well of pleasure that lies in the system underneath the pain and the numbness, right? Beyond any intensity or friction. And so who wants to like taste more of what I'm talking about? And it's okay if not, right? But it's like, if you feel that desire for more, I do have an invitation for you, for the women that are live with me tonight. And it's to take the next step in this journey. And what I've created is a 4-week, more experiential journey into all that we've covered, but we're going that layer deeper. It's 4 weeks of actually creating the neural pathways in the body and in the nervous system that actually promotes secure and healthy attachment. Awareness is half the battle. It's in the embodiment. So this container is 4 weeks of regulating, relaxing, and tuning into innate safety, sovereignty, and pleasure. Okay, and this 4-week journey is called Embodied, and it will work as a group style of program, and you will get one private one-on-one coaching session with me. And for those that are live with me tonight, I'm offering it to you for $333. And that's available to you for the next 24 hours. So you don't need to tell me anything now. You don't need to make a decision. I am going to post a link in the chat. You're welcome to click the link and invest. If you're really feeling the pull, just make sure you let me know so I can celebrate you. You're welcome to copy and paste it and just take it with you and have a think about it, have a sleep on it. And when I do promote it on Instagram, the full investment will be $777. And I haven't promoted this anywhere yet. You're the first to hear about it. So that's just my thank you for being here with me and your presence. It's so, so appreciated. And so I'll get that link now so you have it. I'll just pop it in the chat. I'd love to deepen into somatic embodiment. Yes, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is 3 is my number. It's a sign. There's the link. So you're welcome to jump in now. We can celebrate. You're welcome to take the link with you. It'll be active for 24 hours. And where that leads us to now is the Q&A. And I get that I've had you on here longer than expected. So the Reclamation Facebook group is going to stay there forever, and I'm going to be active in it over the next few days. So you're welcome to bring questions there. If there's lots of questions there, I'll do a video and I'll speak into them. Otherwise, we can go through some stuff now. I'll also be doing a comment thread in the Facebook group asking for biggest insights, biggest takeaways, and I'll be looking through that engagement as well, just to like decide where I put prizes as well, because it's always hard to know where they should land. But if you have questions now, you can put them in the chat. I can read them and speak into them. You're also welcome to come off of mute. So I'm just going to create some space for that. And I'll just have a look now. Kirsty getting girls to sleep. Yes, no worries, Kirsty. So much love. Kirsty.
Unmute. How do I unmute? Oh, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was wonderful. So, like you say, you can have all this awareness and do all the personal development, but when you're stuck in it, it's just so confusing.
Yes.
So thank you so much. I'll think on the link, and I'm just conscious of my girls kind of.
Yes. Absolutely.
And thank you, everybody.
So welcome.
Yeah, I'm going to leave now, but I really thank you so much.
Love, you are so welcome.
Bye.
Victoria has a question. Hang on, Sam, it's 11:37, but I have one question. Easier if I can ask rather than write. Yep, Sam, you go. Just it's different time zone, getting late for you.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
So in the thick of it, when we're still falling into our old like reactive behaviors, and it takes a little bit to do the more healthy version now. Sometimes for me, it's like I'm just taking a break from doing the work by just automatically falling into the old. So how would you suggest to take a more healthier break? Because sometimes I get really tired from being so aware and on and self-soothing and regulating. It's just like I just want to just, you know? So yeah.
So when we're constantly like in the process, in the deep self-regulation, in like the work, it is exhausting. But it's to know like the deepest medicine actually isn't in the processing like big energy, expensive things. It's just actually in cultivating every day. What am I going to do to devote to my nervous system? What is my commitment to myself that doesn't actually take my energy? It gives me energy.
Okay.
Like the fact, like I practice yoga and like I love yoga for the experience I get on the mat, but the actual reward is the way I am off of the mat. So it's like when we're processing all the time, it is exhausting. And it's like we get to put that down, but it's like, how can we still stay committed to relaxation, regulation, so that we just literally are showing up differently in those moments?
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
So what is your commitment to yourself? What is your flavor of regulation, relaxation? What can you do for yourself to be cultivating that level of like its presence?
Yes. Out. I totally understand that, because it's against my integrity, which is one of my highest values, to fall back into that old and project and, get frustrated at my partner and things like that. But it's also like I said, you sometimes just get so tired and bogged down with like doing the work. So I can understand how yoga can really get that moving. So I'm guessing meditation would be another one.
If meditation works for you, it's like not for everyone, but it's like I said, for me, it's walking, it's movement. If I'm frustrated, the best thing I can do is put some music on and like dance and shake and just like, and like get it through. But like walking every day. Is it
a moment of solitude as well? Like that's because then you're not busy taking it out on other people, right?
Yeah, taking space, like it's whatever creates presence for you. So creating presence doesn't have to be taxing, and that can be solo, it can be with something, it can be with your dog. It's like what's your most direct route into presence that doesn't feel like an energy expense?
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Any other questions before you hop off? Nearly midnight. All right. Thank you so much, Sam. Appreciate you being here. Victoria, what did you have for me?
Hello.
Hello.
So my question's about the initial stages of forming a connection and how we're talking about so there's like the honeymoon stage of like, this is so amazing and I'm so swept off my feet. I have just started a connection with someone where that wasn't there, like there wasn't the lust and the intensity and stuff, but there's like such deep respect and love starting to form for me, and it feels more stable. And I guess I'm wondering if there's like a model of that sort of like relationship stages in a sort of more a conscious way, because we're doing it so consciously and kind of like everything's on the table and everything's sort of being like brought to light. So I'm not sure if I guess there might be pieces of that there revealed later with the power struggle stage. It might reveal pieces of that, but
so it's to know, even in the most conscious, healthy relationship tension is normal. It's like we all have shit. We all have stuff that comes up, you know. Good night, Sam. Yeah, no worries. Have a good night. Thank you for being here. Like we all have our humanness, and it's like I don't know any relationship, conscious or not, that doesn't have this level of like connection, this level of awareness, this level of almost like struggle, but it's just the way it's dealt with is different. So the conflict power struggle phase is when our stuff is online, but we're projecting, we're defensive, we're blaming. It's like, you did this to me, you made me feel like this. Whereas when we're choosing to practice more consciously, it's like, oh, this is here, but it's mine. And we know what's mine and we know what's yours, and we actually just keep self-revealing it. And it's like, that's when the conflict actually gets to create clarity. And when we expose these parts and they're seen and held and loved on, we then get to move through into that deeper love phase. Does that answer that question? I don't really have like a specific model. It's just like knowing that the model's almost the same and it'll be dealt with differently.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. I guess it was more the honeymoon stage, and I'm like, if there's like a lack of that intensity and lust in me, I'm like, is that like a not a good sign or something now? Because I've never experienced it like this before. Yeah, so I'm wondering if that's
No, I don't believe it's a problem at all. I think the most beautiful relationships can grow from like friendship. It's like when there's trust and connection and there's like respect and integrity, it's like that gets to be hot. And like the fuel source for arousal is really like polarity, really. And like we can create that ongoing forever, so outside of lust and infatuation. Like I believe we can have a relationship that has that lust and infatuation and still get to this place of real love. But I still think we can come into connection that's really peaceful, and we can still create as much desire and arousal through things like polarity, safety, and security, and just two nervous systems that are super regulated and open.
Yeah, I had no physical attraction to this man, like at all. And then as I got to know his heart, I was like, this is really fucking hot.
Yeah, this is great. This is great experience. Yep.
Yeah, and it's never happened like that before. So it does feel kind of like, am I doing it right? Like when's shit's gonna hit the fan? When's the rose-colored goggles gonna come off or something? But it doesn't even feel like they're there. So yeah.
Well,
We're revealing ourselves, we're revealing like the shadow of things, being transparent, so it's not all just like fantasy and
right.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind that relationship tension isn't a sign that the relationship's fucked or broken. It's like, it's actually normal. It's normal. It creates deeper connection. It can still be uncomfortable, but it's like how you choose to manage it is what moves you like into deeper intimacy. It creates intimacy to come through conflict in a way that's effective.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you
Exciting.
for your question. Yeah, I'm excited for you. That's so exciting. I love love. I love relationship.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Do you have any other questions?
Not right now.
If you do, pop them in the Reclamation Facebook group. Like I said, I'll be in there. Same goes to anyone watching the replay. And yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome, my love. I'll speak to you soon. Have a beautiful night. And goodbye to everyone watching the replay. Mwah.